The search for an indigenous martial arts style in Australia led me down a path that I love the most about martial arts research. It turned out to tell a story about cultures clashing together, about our human history and human existence on this planet itself. The culture of fighting is as old as humanity and beyond, and can tell us much about our history and the way of dealing with conflicts in a way much better than we do today. Modern-day Australia is a beautiful country and known for its beaches, an openness and a lifestyle many people dream about. But there's a huge blind spot between the thousands of years the first Australian culture thrived and its recent 200 years of history. I met Gavin Dickson, a man who tried to trace back Aboriginal wrestling arts, and by this became fully aware of the lack of knowledge concerning the cultures that first settled in Australia.
In the early days it was really hard to find information because nobody had ever touched this topic before. So for me it was going out talking to Aboriginal people as often as I possibly could, Aboriginal elders. But it wasn't until later that I found out, when I started researching and doing more information on wrestling, and I found out that we actually have this vibrant, highly evolved wrestling tradition in this country. But for the most part it has been obliterated by the imposition of a foreign cultural domain on us. So Coreeda came about with that express purpose to revive what existed before, to bring it back to life. But the main breakthroughs came when I was living in Western New South Wales in Yampa country, and I met an elder out there who was able to give me a vast amount of information based on the stories that were told to him by his own grandfather. And from there, I was able to track down, going to some of the libraries in Sydney, some of the old colonial documents.
What Gavin's research could trace back was a festival named Coreeda, held in the time of the year of great abundance of kangaroos. Neighboring tribes were gathered to hunt the big kangaroo herds passing through. To celebrate this event and to keep the testosterone of all the eager young warriors under control, the wrestling tournament was a crucial part of social life. The warriors competed in both a kangaroo-style dance and a kangaroo-inspired wrestling fight against each other. So skill, strength and flexibility were at display. Gavin's research finally guided him all around the globe, exploring the significance of wrestling in every culture around the world. He is the author of From the Dreaming to the Dreamers, an outstanding examination of this topic, compiling all his 30 years of research.
And we find that wrestling is a universal sport practiced in every part of the earth that human beings live. So therefore we can assume that wrestling is instinctive to our species. The very first human beings that ever were born were wrestling. And they were taught that by their parents, who probably weren't human beings at all, you know. Somewhere along the line we turned from an arboreal primate to an upright walking one, and we became human. Wrestling has always been part of our existence. Yeah, for the most part, they used a range of weapons to try to take their opponent's life. They used war clubs to smash the skull, to crack the skull. So, severe brain trauma, death. They used their boomerang swords to slash and chop and break bones. And they used their spears for long range if they had to throw a spear and kill someone. But peacemaking martial arts were a different realm altogether. So that's why there was no unarmed combat fighting, because it was all about weapons. It was designed to kill. You had to kill your opponent. Wrestling is not designed to kill, it's a sport, it's a competition. He's got 600 on his side, he's got 600 on his side. They do war chants, they sing, they dance, on either side of the so-called battlefield. And at some stage someone releases a spear, and then they release spears, and the spears go backwards and forwards. Very rarely do Ben get hit. And then at the end of it, they declare the war's over. So no one's died. A lot of spears got thrown, no one's died. and they say the war is over, let's be friends. Or shake hands, they have a ceremony, a corroboree, and peace is restored in the world.
Excavating the lost fighting traditions of the Aboriginal people of Australia inevitably leads to the realization that there still is a great misconception about Aboriginal culture. For many people, Australia's history began around 200 years ago with the white settlers, unaware of the deep culture that has been there for so many thousands of years before.
It's a country that was founded on British monarchy, a foreign monarchy. Has dominated the cultural presence and the political existence of this country since 1788. It's a foreign culture. I wish people would understand the concept that every Australia Day we are celebrating the foreign invasion of our country. It makes no sense. Had the Japanese have won the Pacific War, I suppose we'd be celebrating, yay, bonsai, you know. Every whatever day they invaded, that'd be our national day of celebration. And so few Australians are willing to question that. I want more Australians to embrace this concept. I want them to recognise that the human heritage of this country is not divided between black and white. It's just human heritage. So whether you have any biology of Aboriginality in you is irrelevant when we're talking about human culture. If you call yourself an Australian, then this is your heritage. You should be proud of it. You should be trying to learn about as much of it as possible. We have some of the oldest man-made monuments in the world. So I'm talking about little, small-scale. I found a stone spearhead. You know, it's very old. But I'm talking major megalithic structures in Australia that are huge and probably as old as 30,000 years. Great earthen mounds with stone arrangements on the apex of these peaks. And this is not an isolated single incident, this is continent-wide. Amazing heritage that we've got in this country. It may be the place that bananas were first cultivated, where taro, yams were very first cultivated. We'll talk about civilizations in the Middle East, 10,000 years old, and we're talking about something that's 3 times older than that. So they brought smallpox over. It probably killed 90%. Could you imagine that happening here now today? 90% reduction, you've got 2 million, 3 million people left in the whole country. And then someone comes in and starts describing your culture, saying, oh, very backward and primitive. And that was the perception of your culture thereafter. The British brought civilization to Australia. That's what they indoctrinated to believe. And I think it was the opposite. I think the civilization was already here. What they brought was barbarity, cruelty, and genocide. If that's the equal of civilization, then no human being on this planet should be civilized. You don't have to continue on this model of conquest, destruction, and then rampant capitalism, where we reap everything out of the ground and enrich our pockets. Because there is an alternative. It doesn't feel very strong at the moment, but I think it is a growing force in the world.
Ancient cultures all around the world have developed highly evolved solutions for many problems we face today. In the age of colonialism, and still in its continuance today, we stepped over them with great ignorance and hubris. Hopefully, in the future we will learn to embrace the old heritage of our mutual ancestors and use our technology and all our power in a more sustainable and harmonious way.